your drive home on Hot 103. Folks, looks like that storm is headed right for us. Gonna put some gas in my Furman generator, stop by the ABC Fine Wine and Spirits, and of course, watch Mike's weather page. Y'all stay safe out there.
All right, everybody, what's up? Good morning to you. Coming to you live from Oldsmar, Florida, close to Tampa Bay and Clearwater. And we got a lot to talk about with Louie. Hurricane Lee, man, it's going to be a big one for the Northeast. Starting to get the vibe from a lot of meteorologists now that it might be a big one to watch. So we're going to go over everything. Promise you that. We got a lot to talk about. We'll talk about Invest 97, which really doesn't look much right now other than maybe Bermuda. So I'll share all that later. I'm not going to hype it. There's really nothing with that one yet to hype. So let's turn it over to tell you who we are. We talk about an hour. This is our little daily brew brought to you by our great friends at ABC Fine Wine and Spirits. Largest family owned since 1936. I tend to bore Louie. That's where Daddy goes. So all you New Englanders, listen, a lot of y'all are snowbirders, right? You come down here in the wintertime, you have to go to ABC now because now you're getting hurricane information, which you don't usually get hurricane information in Maine and New England, right? So when you come to Florida now, you have to stop at ABC. The first thing you got to do is Google it. There's 120 or 30 of them. They're all around the state of Florida. So you can officially support. Here's what it looks like. Yeah, Louie's got a hangover. Where'd you do last night? Morgan Wallen? Last night. All right, so the storm is huge. All right, so everything's happening. It's turning north. Going to be a lot of impacts, starting probably with the Carolinas. I would not be surprised if we don't get tropical watches and warnings pretty far south. It's going to be a really interesting couple days ahead. So I'm going to say hi for a few minutes. Boston's downplaying the storm. Well, Lisa, they're almost in the cone. Since we're going to talk about the cone, everybody grab your Louis cup. Look at this. Louis. Look. Does it look like Louis? This isn't the same hat, but it'll work. You can keep this on. Don't move, Louis. Look. Stay. Right there. Don't move. There you go. That's like the coffee cup. See? Different hat. Sheriff Louis. All right, so we got any new people watching from the north New England area. I'm not a real meteorologist. I'm just a hobbyist. So always get your official information from National Weather Service, National Hurricane Center. But I've been doing this a long time. 2004, 2009, we started our Facebook, started going live 2016, and started going live on X and YouTube basically last year. We played the year before, but last year we hit it hard. So hopefully we can provide you some good information. And I see my buddy Eric. How's it going, buddy? Rays lost by 1 run yesterday. Christina, it's going to slowly turn. There's a front on the East Coast right now that it's going to react to. So, yes, it's 100% going to turn. You can almost say 100% it is not hitting Florida. How about that? Yeah, Alberto, yes, it has been really good. The only thing that's, man, am I boring you that much? The only thing that's been different has been the Euro's been right. And that's because the Euro has been reading the upper air patterns better than anybody. What's up, Bobby from Key Largo? Good morning, Wendy. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate that. What's up, Miss Morning and Shelly Ross? Luis, New Englanders, I think, don't really know what's coming. They're gonna. Tom, I thought about it. I've been asked that question before, but it's really like I'm 49 now. I really don't. I'm lazy. I really don't want it. I don't want to go back to school, man. Rodney Dangerfield, right? I don't really want to go back to school. We've probably reached our peak anyways. The roller coaster is bound to go downhill sooner or later. I'm just a one-man band over here, man. Of course, I have the help of Shelly and my wife and Phil on the backside. But Scott, good morning. What's up, Michael? Michael Lineman, where are you from? Says Lineman from. Could be a lot of power outages ahead, too. Back to School. I just remember that movie. I haven't seen it for a while. Brian from Hatters. Holy moly. Eric, sorry to hear you got upper respiratory. Emily's got to go to the doctor today, too. I think she's got a little hint of bronchitis. She's been sick for like 2 weeks. So anyway, yeah, we've been talking about this forever, right, Jamelia? All right, so let's get right into it. We'll say a lot more hellos at the end. I hate to miss everybody, but I really want to get into it. So, Southeastern Massachusetts Magazine. Glad to have you over there on YouTube, by the way. It's nice to reach a new audience. What's up, Kitchen? How's West Palm Beach doing down there? Any good Kid Rock songs lately? All right. I need to get right into it. So, here's the deal. This thing is humongous, right? It's expected to get bigger. Now, not bigger winds, but bigger width. It's incredible. I mean, look at the size of this thing. Current hurricane winds are wider than the state of Florida. It's still big. I mean, currently it's still 115 miles an hour. Still a major hurricane. Everybody's like, when I've used the word hurricane hangover so much in these last several years, and I swear with Lee, it's hurricane hangover. Nobody wants to talk about it. Hurricane hangover. We've been tracking this one since like March. Louis, stop it. Hey, check this out. So I got my drone out. I haven't really played with it yet. But look at the size of this thing, man. It is massive. Look at this thing. Incredible. Can't wait. Taking it with me. All right, so the big changes with this thing. This thing could still be a hurricane here. I hate these dots. It makes it look like it's weakening. It is weakening. But there's really not much difference between a H and a strong S. So, very rare to get a hurricane up in this area, especially at this angle. I've been really talking a lot about that angle. Most of these hurricanes are coming in from the southwest. They usually come across, doing that curve around the Atlantic. Totally different setup. This is a weird one. It's coming in at a little zigzag. That's going to be interesting. It's going to be pushing a ton of water. Like, I don't want to compare it to like any named storms, but big, wide systems push a lot of water. And this one's going to be going north, pushing this water into these little bays and canals. It's already flooded up there. They've had tremendous amount of rain today, tomorrow, Thursday, another frontal line coming in. So the big story is, one, the expanding winds are going to reach well inland, starting in the Carolinas. Unbelievable waves, 30, 40-foot seas at least, nearing the Gulf of Maine. And I already started seeing advisories down on Long Island. This thing's going to be pushing water north as it goes. Of course, rain and storms are going to be heavily weighted on the west side, which isn't good news, because any more tracks to the west mean more rains and storms on the west side. This system has a lot more rain and storms on the west side than the east side. Nova Scotia is still in the path. No matter what, counterclockwise winds hit as it comes by. So you're still going to be a lot of winds in Nova Scotia. Fiona was on the other side. This is on the west side, so this will be a little different setup. A lot of y'all haven't had anything like this in a long time. So Bay of Fundy's right there. A lot of questions on what the Bay of Fundy's going to do. We have a new moon Thursday, the 15th. So those are higher tide values. Will be added to the surge numbers. So yeah, I think, with the amount of rain and wind and rain that we've had, and a lot of New Englanders have been pointing out to me, the difference with a nor'easter is all the trees are bare up there and the winds blow a lot easier through the trees. Makes a lot of sense, right? All your trees have leaves on them now, so that means they can't, the winds are going to not blow through them as easy as they did in the wintertime. So, grounds are saturated. That means the root systems are weak, so it won't take a lot for winds to blow down trees. So, you might want to head to Lowe's or Costco and pick up that Furman generator if you haven't already. And then the other thing to watch for is, what was I going to say? One more thing, I can't remember now. Oh well. But those are the big impacts. And you can't focus on the cone. It's so important. If you're new to hurricane tracking, listen, I know it's a broken record if you follow me a lot, but last year, Ian, everybody focused on the center line and ended up hitting on the edge, okay? So if you're in this cone, that's the high confidence area that you can see the center of the storm. And this storm doesn't even really matter. Oh, I know what I was going to say. But notice they've shifted the cone west, and that includes now very close to Boston. Boston should be taking this serious. You're on the edge of that cone, meaning some of these European ensembles and others are pointing your way. And they're stressing, don't focus on that center with this storm. It's going to be such a wide system that any track closer to the coast, guarantees bigger impacts along the coast, bigger impacts inland, bigger power outages. Timing starts Saturday or Friday night. I'll get into all that and show you. But the other key point I want to talk, and I'm going to start showing you graphics, is this. I did a lot of homework. I can't find history of nor'easter pressures like I want. The most recent Groundhog's Day nor'easter was in 2021. That was the most recent one I could find. It was pretty dramatic. They even have a Wikipedia article on it talking about how much flooding they've had during that, how much coastal flooding, inland flooding, power. That one was a 985 millibar system when it neared Nova Scotia, and it came off of New Jersey at a 990. And these nor'easters typically, swing like that off of, coming from the Pacific. This system's going to be coming in with a completely different wind pattern. Surge is going to be pushing up with the system that we see with tropical systems on top of the winds and the waves. So, this is really a unique setup that we don't hardly ever see. and that's my one question mark that could end up being the big story, is the amount of water being pushed. And that's not even here. It's pushed in here, everywhere. And then, of course, the whipping of the winds. You add waves to the surge, that increases the amount of coastal impacts. And it's not trying to scare anybody. This is reality. If you have a 6-foot surge, you got a 20, 30-foot sea out there with wind blowing. That's added to the top of that surge. And waves on top of surge is a problem. That magnifies the effects of prolonged, coastal issues. So, the last nor'easter was in the 985 range. Everything I'm seeing is in the 950 to 960 millibar range. That is so low. Nobody else is talking about this, but low pressures mean big winds. Low pressures mean tight gradients, big waves, and I'm starting to read the tone in the NHC a little bit that don't focus on this thing downgrading. It's going to be moving at such a forward speed that it might not reach those subtropical characteristics that a lot of people are using as talking points. They're kind of saying, hey, this thing could still be tropical nearing the Cape. So it's all how you word it. But another thing is these cooler waters down by that you've heard a lot about with Franklin. They are cooler, but they're 81, 82 degrees. It's not like really cold water. So this thing isn't really going to rapidly lose any punch, is what I'm saying. It's gonna weaken as it goes, but those aren't cold waters that Franklin left behind. Those are cooler waters, and they're still above 80, 81, 82. And I'll start showing a bunch of graphics now. I go into graphic mode now, but I was even talking point that until I looked and really did some homework and realized that they really weren't that cold. They're a little colder than normal, but this is what everybody's talking about. This little spot of water here, but as it turns north here, it's still 81, 82 degrees. I mean, yeah, it's 79, 76 as you go north, but it's still 82, 83 the time it gets up next to Carolina. So it's not going to go from a 100-mile-an-hour hurricane to nothing. It's such a wide system that these feeder bands are going to be using up all the warm water around it. So that's what you got to worry about. So the other graphic I just shared, this one, and then we're going to get into graphics. So this is on Friday. These are wind speeds. These aren't gusts. These are wind speeds. 30 knots is green. 34 knots, we get into yellow, but even 30 knots reaching way down into the Carolinas, So these winds are going to be all the way to the coastal mid-Atlantic Carolinas Thursday, Friday as it passes by. So I wonder if we're going to get tropical storm watches and warnings. There's not going to be any storms, though. That's the weird thing. So it'll be more of a wind warnings, but I'm curious how far watches and warnings are going to go. We might have Long Island in a watch or warning. And then obviously everybody north. I'm just more curious how far south they're going to start issuing watches and warnings, which would be soon. This is Friday. Today's Wednesday. That's 2 days from now. 48 hours, they're supposed to issue watches and warnings. I'm not talking about Invest 97. There's so much hype about Invest 97. Everybody gets panicked about the next system, but I've shared. I already did posts on it. I'm gonna talk about it later, but I just don't like that everybody finds that one model. They post that one model that shows it hitting the East Coast, but 99% of the other models don't. So, I'll talk about it. I promise, and I understand. I'm not mad at anybody. I'm mad at everybody post it, and then it gets everybody all panicky about it for no reason. All right, so let's dive into it. I think I got everything here I wanted to show. This is the cone. So remember, the cone is so important, but we have seen a track shift. We are seeing that zigzag, and these areas, obviously, potentially in the eye, Portland. So the chances are definitely increasing that we're going to see a U.S. landfall. Maine is in the U.S. If I had $1 for people to say now that this storm's over, can you start talking about something else? Well, it's not over, man. There's more people who live up here than Oldsmar. So, all right, so let's go really quick. I want to talk about Bermuda real quick. So we got tropical storm warnings up for there. Luckily, it looks like most is going to stay. No hurricane watches up. Hopefully, none will be up. Windy app. Let's just look at the trek of this. Now, remember, when you go to the Windy app, it is the Euro. The Windy map is not a storm prediction. It just defaults to the Euro. So whatever you see on Windy when you first open Windy, you're looking at the Euro model, European model, and it's one of the best. So, Naughty Cloud, now you are in the cone. Well, we're all cone heads now because we so. Courtney, good to see you from Maine. James, you're welcome. Elena, always. Wonder, Katie wants to know, let me see, good question. Why is it more west? Oh, well, Katie, has a lot to do. There's going to be a high pressure on the east side, which is going to be bringing in some dry air and shear. And we're going to have a frontal line it's merging with, and that frontal line is going to help fuel these storms. Kind of like a nor'easter, you know? So we're going to have a frontal line coming in, and it's going to fuel off of that frontal line to intensify the rains and the storms on the west side. So, Jamelia, yep, be good up there in Cape Cod. It's going to be interesting. Flash flood warnings again for Connecticut. Yep, it's been unbelievable. Jessica getting ready. Yep, I'm sure it's going to turn, Mike. Wouldn't it be awesome if Vegas let you bet on hurricanes? And maybe there was somebody, if there's a bet at Vegas that says, will Hurricane Lee hit Florida or not, right? I'd mortgage the house. I would bet it all. I would bet it all. So, all right. Yeah, a lot of rain. Hopefully we don't get a lot of rain, but thank you there, Josephine. Newcastle, it's so awesome to see everybody chiming in from different areas. That's awesome. We had a nice email from someone I got to respond that told us a lot about the area, offering some stuff. Skitch, oh, here we go. Sit you it. Susan says, sit you it. I don't know about that. That's Brandon Clement's video from Weather Chasing a couple years ago. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm going to make the decision later. I don't know what I'm going to do. I just can't not miss it. I went to Texas for a tropical storm. I think I should go here, right? I got my accent, park your car. I'm going to go to the Enterprise counter and say, hey, I need to rent a car. Actually, I don't want a car. Situate. Situate. I like that. I'm gonna situate the waves. I'm gonna situate. All right. We're gonna focus on our friends in Bermuda right now, real quick. Luckily, nothing's hitting head on, but this is what it's going to look like. No rain and storms are going to reach the East Coast. Maybe as far when you start going north of Carolinas, you might start getting a really random feeder band. But this will be a good look here. This is the latest Euro. Blues, rains, basically, and thunderstorms associated with Lee. And as we get into Thursday, you're going to get some passing by feeder bands, no doubt, into the island there. But, winds, it'll be steady. There's 42 mile an hour constant. So that's, it's pretty steady. I mean, luckily it's not a hurricane. It's far enough away. You might have your worst Thursday night still wiggling a little more west overnight. 50 mile an hour. GFS is showing about the same. So it still doesn't look like any hurricane. Maybe some hurricane gusts. That's why I'm wondering if they might put hurricane watch up. So that's it. Thursday into Thursday night, the heaviest winds. Hopefully that's it. Waves, we got 26-foot seas. I'm sure all the boaters know this. So they're going to be coming in from the south, and then they're going to be coming in from the southeast Thursday. So definitely want to batten down the hatches on the water. Those are still big seas, man. 26 foot. for Bermuda. Good thing it didn't move a little bit, because look at these seas. They're already 40 foot. So those are the two main impacts, it looks like, for Bermuda. Then by Friday, most of it's gone. Here's Friday morning. Things are about done. So it's definitely Thursday into Thursday night. All right. Good news, right? Lori, if you're watching, that was for Lori. James Ford starting up the coffee fund. We're going to drink coffee with Mom. I blew off Mom yesterday. I'm going to have to... We're trying to get Emily's house ready for sale, and I got to fix this damn tracking light thing. And I got to grind some granite today because the new electrical box didn't have a GFI in the kitchen and bring it up to code, but they won't grind granite. But I luckily have a Dremel tool, and you can do anything with Dremel tool. So I'll be grinding a little granite. All right, so let's see how close these rain bands get. So this is going to be interesting. Will we get any tropical storm warnings or watches? How far are they going to go? This is Friday, 11 o'clock a.m., but we're going to get big waves no matter what. These waves, as we've been showing, are going to be reaching the East Coast, going downhill fast, right? Florida's going to be seeing them today. Going to be a lot worse tomorrow. Here's Friday morning. These waves are going to be impacting the East Coast, 13 foot. This is right along the water here. 15, farther out you go, we got 20 foot, obviously to the core. So big wave action here across the eastern seaboard. But the thing we got to watch here is this wiggle to the west. So our front that we're seeing right now is going to clear out of here. When it clears out of here, we're going to have a high pressure build back in, and that's what's making that little zigzag. And the Euro is one of the best at reading upper air patterns, and it's been showing this zigzag. All the other models tend to follow GFS's thinking, and that's exactly what happened last year with Ian. A lot of them were going to the Panhandle. The European ensembles had a west or a east tilt to that, and it indeed played out. So we're seeing the other models maybe catching up a little bit to the Euros thinking of that zigzag into the Gulf of Maine there. Friday, 4 p.m., we're going to start to see storms reaching possibly Cape Cod Friday night. Winds are going to be really whipping here, coming in hard. Boston's going to start feeling it Friday night. We're going to have sustained winds over 25, 30 miles an hour already here into Cape Cod on Friday night. Then we get into the big stuff. This is Saturday morning, early, 1 o'clock in the morning. Look at that. It's going to be howling here across Cape Cod. These are winds, not gusts. Gusts, you can figure out, will be a lot higher, a lot higher with wind gusts. But, keeping it real with sustained winds here. And as this is moving, it's pushing a lot of water. I don't want to compare it. But for an example, let's say Katrina, that was a Category 3 on approach. Hurricane Ike, I think the anniversary of Hurricane Ike is today, and it was a Category 2 with some of the biggest surge ever recorded with a Category 2. So not comparing it to those surge levels, but, you get a big storm pushing water right into these little bays and outlets here. It could be a big story people aren't really talking about. But the winds themselves are going to be big. And the problem with winds is this, you get tropical storm force winds in Boston and stuff, everything shuts down. Tents, you got weddings, you got outside events that, emergency personnel can't be driving on highways when there's tropical storms. Sometimes they have to open up shelters. That changes things around a lot. Schools maybe closing maybe Friday if they're preparing for, shelters. So when you have, even if tropical storm rolls in, everything happens. Things can't, they can't have sporting events, safety. Mainly because of safety. You can't have police and fire on the roads when it's over an X amount. Usually around tropical storm force winds. So definitely, and that's what they're stressing. And interesting to note, let's finish this out, and I'm going to show you something about the NHC. They keep talking about something I've never seen before. But this is Saturday, 5 a.m., and you can just follow the wind. This is the wind map. You can just kind of see what's going on here. I mean, it's basically going right into that bay there. Some of your biggest winds, obviously, are going to be wrapping around Saturday morning. It's kind of getting quicker now. But, this is your pileup of water here. What was the name of that town? Sit with it. Right? Did I say it right? Sit with it. Sit with it. Is that right? Sit with it. Did I say it right? Why is my thing running here? I don't know. Hold on a minute. I can't turn off the video here. Oh well. Eating up bandwidth. Sit, chew it. Shelly just texted me. She doesn't want me to sound silly, so she's hope. At least we got the right number today, Shelly. That's this number you're texting. I can see during the chat. Sit, chew it. Of course, your wind gust map always magnifies things a little bit more, but that's Saturday morning. Of course, your radar obviously going to be showing heavy rains there. This is incredible amount of rain and storms possibly here Saturday morning. The GFS is about a little faster. So if anything, the storm has moved a little quicker once it gets going. That's usually what happens with the jet stream. Once these systems grab a hold of that jet stream, they kind of boom north a lot faster. And that's what the NHC is talking about, that it won't really weaken as much because it's going to be moving at a fast speed. But, looking at these maps, I mean, we're going to have, heavy storms and winds, along a large area. Notice the pressure, 962 on the GFS, 964 on the Euro, 965. So, man, I don't think nor'easters, can anybody correct me if I'm wrong? Are nor'easters ever that low? Everything I've learned about low pressure is it's big winds, and they extend outward quite a bit. So, but there you go. So don't focus on the landfall. Like I said, this is a big system. A skirt next to Cape Cod, they might get the worst of it. If you can have the wind, the surge, the everything. Just you can have all that water, you can have all that surge. We got a new moon on Thursday, so it's going to be one of the biggest possible coastal events many have seen because of the angle. I think this angle is going to be kind of unprecedented, especially here across Nova Scotia too. I mean, luckily the wind and most of the storms have been western sided, but you're still going to get a lot of wind here and a lot of potential power outages just as much. The Northeast is still powerful on a hurricane. So depending on where this thing goes, St. John, all that Nova Bay of Fundy area, you're going to be dealing with these winds too. Little shift to the east, guess what? You get even more. Halifax. So, yeah, it's bad. 970. That's I'm telling you, I don't know. Thank you there, southeastern Massachusetts. 972 was the perfect storm. Well, that was a bad one. Every storm's different. So, modern pizza. I love pizza, Stephanie. Pizza and lobster. Boats are rolling into Newport, Rhode Island. How's that possible? You can't deny this thing is going to be bringing winds and waves now. This is too close. This is 2 days away. Sunday night football, New England, it'll be gone. Long gone. Hell, I might be able to fly home Saturday night and watch Emily play softball. So here's Sunday overnight, midnight, 1 o'clock. Still going to be having this low pressure spinning in winds. So the big question is obviously the Bay of Fundy too. Storm on approach, big winds here, exiting, big winds here. All of that rotation. So on Sunday morning, there's those winds wrapping around Bangor and now pushing from the west to the east, and then of course, hitting the south side of Nova Scotia there. Very interesting setup here, right? I mean, look at this. I mean, some big winds are still going to be possible for northern parts of Maine. into we had somebody actually mentioned me from St. John and St. George. So hello, St. John, St. George watchers. They're like, don't forget about us. So pretty bad. This is Sunday, 2 a.m. These are wind gusts, but sustained winds are still going to be, pretty strong. So, and that of course is pushing a lot of water. Cruise ships. I don't have no idea what's going on with cruise ships. They better not be any cowboy captains. Hope not. There's always one. And it's Bangor, right? Sit with it in Bangor. Or no, sit with it. What the heck? I forgot already, silly. I'm the worst when it comes to name. At least I got Maine right, or Lee right. Sit chew it. I'll never say it right. So, first off, welcome all the new people. The cool thing about it, we're streaming live on X, Facebook, and YouTube. You can always go back and watch this. I always put it on the front page. Our YouTube channel's growing. We have a great local sponsor, Direct Remodels, that does hurricane windows. Big fan of our page. So, thanks to him, we try to have a lot of industry supporters, except for ABC and TBBC. Because a big part of hurricane is having hurricane parties. Can't officially say that, but I can. So you can get your TBBC at ABC. Say that 10 times fast. TBBC at ABC. Actually, look, I'm about ready to open my Red Bull. And I got me a Red Bull koozie holder. Isn't that awesome? Oh, actually, it fell right in there. It's an oversized. It doesn't fit. I need a spacer. I need a spacer in my koozie. So I have evidence last night that I raided the Dorito bag. I hate those nights when I do that because I asked Julie, did I eat Doritos? Look at that. I just created a koozie spacer with a Dorito clip bag. So now I can drink my Red Bull. But I can't set it down or it'll spill. TBBC at ABC. It's a family joke because Sarah can't say it. So the wording of the NHC, let me show you this real quick. So timing of winds, this is a very important graphic. This one always gets a lot of shares. So let me show you. This is when you might start seeing tropical storm force winds. And look, Friday night, already touching Long Island. That's 2 days. Will we see tropical storm warnings or watches? I'm curious how far south the NHC is going to put watches up. I would think they might even put them touching New Jersey, maybe. I don't know. But Saturday, 8 a.m., you can see the big winds. And remember, this because of the size of the storm, whatever the size is, you can't focus on the X where the center is because you're already going to be getting winds way out front. So you can start getting tropical storm force winds. So, don't look at this graphic here and see, 2 a.m. Sunday, because by 2 a.m. Saturday, you're going to start seeing, the wind field's already going to be up here at 2 a.m. Saturday. I always used to get messed up with that, thinking, it's not going to really go downhill until Sunday. No, it goes downhill. So that means, plan a day ahead. If you're here, you're going to start feeling things 24 hours ahead of time. Sit, chew it. Sit, chew it. Paul asked a great question. I do not have a good surge map yet. The NHC will have one soon, hopefully at 11 o'clock. There is this one that I added, which I said I did it last night. I forgot the day before. But this one has not updated. Now we're in China? Wait a minute. Where did it go? It just defaulted to China. Oh my God, where did it go? It's not even there no more. Maybe they're updating it. Well, anyway, the one today was about 3 cycles behind. Well, that stinks. Where the hell is it? They must be having a website problem. It's the only one that bummer. Anyway, well, I was just looking at it earlier today, so keep checking back. But the problem was it didn't have the latest advisory, so it was going off of data that had a lot more of an east shift to it. So hopefully they update it. Hopefully the NHC comes out with one. Oh man, it's going to China. Maybe I can zoom over here to. No, it's not even. There's no data in it, so they're having problems with it right now. Oh, that's a bummer. That's really the only surge map that I could find. NHC might start producing them at 11 o'clock today, hopefully. So maybe at 11 they'll start updating spaghetti or surge maps. All right, let's look at some individual model runs here. So, I'm reminded a lot here of when we were tracking Ian. There's a false sense that this thing's going to not have any chance of going here, and that's because some of the higher resolution hurricane models and the Euro aren't on here. So going off traditional spaghetti models, we're looking at a turn possibly missing a direct hit, which doesn't mean anything with this storm, but it does as far as impacts with rains and storms. I think you're still going to have more rains and storms closer to wherever the actual track goes as far as heaviest stuff, but we'll see. The latest Euro, let me just zoom in on it. Let's see if we got any 18Z ensembles yet. We do, 60. So it looks like, so these just came out. These are 6Z ensembles. These are on Weather Nerds. And pretty much the same. Touching the average is touching the tip of Maine, and a lot of members. Man, a lot of members. Here's something I've learned over the years. You can't ignore outliers, especially 2 days away. Not saying it's going to hit Cape Cod or anything, but there's an awful lot of European ensembles pointing that direction. And again, I keep saying it. But here, listen, I'm going to try to make this very easy in layman's terms is what my thinking is. The farther north the system goes, the talking point of everybody is it's going to transition into a subtropical system. When it's below Cape Cod, it's probably still a tropical system with tight winds around the center. They even showed the H east of Cape Cod as a hurricane yesterday. This thing shifts over to the east, farther south. Likelihood is still a fairly decent hurricane. Might be 85 miles an hour, 90, who knows? So a shift, it would still be considered tropical and still have higher winds because it hasn't reached those very cool cold waters over any prolonged amount of time, because we still have that Gulf Stream right before that. So that, anybody that's living in that area that's acting like it's nothing needs to be paying extra attention, because we're only 2 days away. Today's Wednesday. That's and the same thing goes over here. I'm not taking anything away from Nova Scotia, y'all. That's always been in the talking point. So y'all on that side have always had this thing pointing to you. So this isn't anything new. The New England area, I have screenshots of about 8 different meteorologists that posted days ago. This is absolutely no threat to the New England. It's going to miss the U.S. You never say never in the tropics. Problem is, 3 days ago, if somebody read that, they might have just turned the news off, thinking, oh, it's not going to impact us here. Well, now there's decent ensembles here showing this thing is responding to a high pressure system that's coming in. Euro does extremely well with reading high pressure systems. It always has. And it's showing that little bend zigzag. So anyway, that was new. I didn't know what to expect. But you hope to start seeing these things tighten up. The goal is to see the ensembles really agree, but they're not. So anyway, nothing to worry about. Just be aware. So that's a big difference is what I'm saying. So I feel like we're talking about Ian all over again. You see these spaghetti models and you're like, okay, but then you look at the European ensembles and you're like, wait a minute, so. Another way to look at it is look at all the ensembles here. I don't think they're including the 6Zs yet, so we're still a little behind. So we definitely had a shift east in the European ensembles. And I can show you that too. Let's look at that. Let's just show you how the European has just shifted more east. So here was overnight. Let me pull up overnights here, and then that was overnight. So let's pull that up. Let's put this in a new image, and then let's pull up the latest 6Z just to show you how it shifted just a little bit. A little bit means a lot when you're 2 days out. All right, so let me super duper zoom it, try to get a better look here. This is weathernerds.org. So here's the overnight 00Z. This was the overnight average of the ensembles for the Euro. And it still had some touching, but now here's a new one. And you can see, not a lot, but 4, 5, 6 more. So a zigzag's still going to be possible. Let's look at the latest models here. Let's zoom in really quick. So we'll go to Tropical Tidbits. If you're here for Invest 97, it's nothing to be at all worried about right now. There's really no sign of this thing hitting anybody yet. So I'll talk about it here in a second, but I'm not too concerned about it at this moment. When you have two systems in the Atlantic right now, Margot and Lee, you don't have a very strong Bermuda high. You got weaknesses out there, and we already have this system in the Atlantic. So usually these systems react to weaknesses and get pulled up because there's no blocking high. So latest Euro, 6Z is out. That's great. Let's look at some winds here. So, oh my God, zoom. Okay, so we're going to go to 10-meter winds. Show you on approach that we're already going to see tropical storm force winds possibly down in the Carolinas. Some strong winds for the Outer Banks. That's incredible. All this green is potentially tropical storm, basically. But then, look at that. So, this is still a strong tropical, could be a hurricane. This to me looks like a hurricane. We'll let the National Hurricane Center officially do this, but 963 millibars, still pretty strong. So probably likelihood is a hurricane at least. But, there's these purples touching Cape Cod and reds, reaching Boston area. People said Boston's not even talking about it. Well, you got pretty strong winds here setting up for Saturday morning. And, of course, everywhere else as this thing pulls in. This is the latest Euro. This is the 6Z. This one just ran, tropicaltidbits.com. So no change in thinking on a track, heading right towards Maine. Now, see that weakening a little bit? Those are surface winds. Purples are bad. Reds are kind of bad, but not like bad. So we got bad winds, bad winds. And of course, these reach Nova Scotia. 967. Hasn't changed much. All right. That's the 6Z Euro. Let's take a look at the 6Z GFS. Still bad winds here, reaching the Cape. Look how wide it is. System's going to be amazingly wide, like one of the widest on record as far as winds and how they extend out from the center. Purple winds are bad. I mean, they're not like Cat 5 winds, but just enough to blow some stuff around. Hurricane force winds likely. These aren't gusts. These are sustained winds, so you get a lot more on top of that. But again, the weakening happens. This is Saturday morning. I'm not reading comments, everybody. I'm sorry. You're going to have to think for yourselves. I wish I could go into every scenario. Hopefully, I'd cover everything and not get sidetracked. I can't get sidetracked. Especially now, I don't know 99% of your all's towns. I'm still trying to figure out how to say Situate. I'm trying, but you're just going to have to look at these graphs and think, okay, And at this point, trust your local EOCs and stuff, local counties, local Mets. I asked the infamous Kevin Guthrie when we were doing Hurricane Idalia coverage, and I asked him, number one question people get on my chats is people only care about their own individual towns, And he said it best, man. Trust your local meteorologist at this point, and always trust your local county's EOC, emergency operations, your emergency management. So that's really it. I mean, I don't know that area very well. I'm trying to get a hold of how bad it could be. I've looked at comparing past systems. I'm comparing pressures, and what I've learned with pressures, more nor'easters are usually around 980, 990. This is 960. I don't know what to expect, but it doesn't look good to me as far as a normal nor'easter. That's the thing. That's the tone I get. It's just a nor'easter. Why are y'all talking about it? Well, maybe it will be. I don't know. But I'm telling you, it doesn't look like a nor'easter to me. This is the latest GFS, so. Latest high-resolution radar maps. Let's look at the Canadian. Canadian is not doing bad. It had an eastern look to it. Still kind of does. But notice, it's still bringing those purple winds close to Cape Cod. Remember, this Canadian model has been trending a little more east, bringing these bigger winds into Nova Scotia up towards the bay. And you can see the slight weakening. These are weakening as far as surface winds go. Now, let me show you the rain real quick. Then we're going to look at some other maps. But this is just to show you on approach here how the heaviest rains are on the west side on this Canadian. Here's a Euro. The heaviest rains are on the west side. And the GFS, the heaviest rains. So that has been consistent for the last week. Still going to get heavy rains in Nova Scotia. Not taking that away at all. But the heaviest rains are going to be fueled by that frontal line. High resolution models here. HAFSA. Showing you landfall somewhere in the bay, close to Maine, close to the border. Important thing to note here, these models are pretty decent when it comes to pressure readings. So again, this is showing 960, which is pretty darn low. Here's a bigger look at it. Let's take a look here at HAO's parent. And there you go. There's your 960 surface winds. Anything in greens, tropical storm force winds, at least. And there's that little turn in. Heaviest winds are on the west side on this latest run, but still 963 pressure. Another model, the HAFSB, is almost touching the Cape. 959 of pressure on approach. I'm telling you, it's still going to be a strong hurricane, meaning one, maybe two. I don't know. It's going to be strong. Just be careful of the word downgraded, because everybody hears the word downgraded and then they're like, I got nothing to worry about. And the latest H4, which is pretty good on intensity too, showing a 958 right off the Cape Cape Cod right there, 958 millibar, 957 on approach, 962. So I don't think I've pretty much covered it all there. Here's what I wanted to talk about with the National Hurricane Center and kind of weird discussion that they had twice now that I read. So said it should be noted again that the 34 and 50 knot speed probabilities beyond day 3, or actually beyond day 36 hours, day and a half, are likely underestimating the risk of winds. It's very weird that they would admit that, because you would think they'd be able to correct their computer, but it basically says the 34 knot, 50 knot wind speed probabilities, which is a map I'll show you here, beyond a day and a half, are likely underestimating the risk of winds occurring. This is because the forecast field of Lee is so large that the data that they use in history doesn't go that far. So what they're saying is this, and this might be tricking some local meteorologists, especially if they don't read the discussion. Wind speed probabilities here. So your 50 mile an hour wind speed probabilities past day 3 are probably inaccurate, meaning they're not taking into account how big the system is, and that's from their own words. So they're basically saying this is going to be a lot wider past day 3. So it's weird that that they're saying that beyond 36 hours that this is probably underestimating the width of the 50 knot wind speed probability. So that's going to be tricky for the local EOCs and stuff that might be using those graphics and not reading the fine print. That's weird, right? Like, here's our graphic, but it's not right. It's going to be bigger. So anyway, all right. This was an amazing graphic yesterday from the National Hurricane Hunters. It's our Tropical Tidbits. This was their last flight pattern. But look at that. I've never seen that much purple in their flight pattern. That pretty much is all hurricane force winds here in that whole X pattern that they do. I mean, I've never seen that much purple around. And I added a bunch of new graphics yesterday. These are your wind overall size maps here. I mean, just putting that red over the state of Florida here, that the red is the hurricane force winds, and this is wider than the peninsula of Florida, and the orange is obviously really wide, and this is expected to really expand, meaning overall size. So put it into perspective. That's why inland effects are going to be really felt. Unfortunately, this graphic's probably, I don't know what they use. Red's hurricane force winds, but it's just a Boat US site. Old school. This one kind of shows you the turn, obviously, which is what everybody was worried about, turning north, but shows you the wind. So once we start seeing land in the picture, you're going to get an idea who's going to start feeling tropical storm force winds, even though this thing is so far away. That doesn't really give an easy look at how big the system is. I'm going to show you one more map, slow down, drink some coffee, then we're going to look at Invest 97. Then I got Mama waiting for me. Mama's waiting. Sounds like a song. Mama's waiting. I don't know what's up with Invest. I screwed up this morning and put Invest 98 on everything because I thought at one time they had Invest 97. Makes no sense. One time they had Invest 97 in front with a little yellow tin, and then they had Invest 98 red, and then all of a sudden Invest 97 is now the dominant one. So anyway, all the graphics are corrected. We're going to talk about it too soon. So in a minute, I mean. All right, so here's the overall convection. So a lot of guys, a lot of people online are laughing. They're like, look at that thing opening up. Ugly. Well, it is. It's got dry air inside of it, but it never was expected to be a major much longer. But the overall width has not changed. This thing is going to get bigger, So we're still about 550, I would guess. 550 right there. So we're still the same size as last night. 550 wide at least on that. But that just, definitely gives you a sight comparison of what this thing looks like. I mean, it's still not a bad looking storm. It's quite incredible, actually. It's just we've been talking about it for so long, nobody even cares. But look at that. I mean, if you were to see this on a normal day, you're like, oh my God. Whoa, there's a big one. That's really big. You can see the dry air. Dry air will be visible with the water vapor. Let's just show you. I don't know how I zoomed in on that, but oh well. And I have to get on Julie the dishwasher. Look at that. There's the dry air. So yeah, that's expected. Big wide eye. So, all right, we can drink some coffee now, and we'll talk about it. Breathe. All right, so I hope, I hope people are tuning in locally. That's all you can do right now. I have a lot of great links on my site. Listen, Hurricane Plan, Hurricane Prepare. These are very critical. On the side over here, I have all kinds of information if you're curious. All kinds. Insurance claim help, homeowners checklists, preparedness, about shutters, family, protecting your home from wind, family disaster plan, eating guide, lightning safety, water damage assessor, flood stuff, Red Cross safety, protect home from flood, stuff for kids, for pets, pet disaster recovery. So if you're worried and stuff, there's hurricane helpful links. Hopefully people use it. Develop a family disaster plan, disaster kit, know your zone, inquire if your county's storm ready. I can't really go more than that, I guess. I don't know. Hopefully, Korean model, great question. It didn't update yesterday. I was kind of bummed out, man. It's like, it's done really well. It's been a little kind of off all over the place, but it was one of the first that started showing the East Coast as a possibility when others weren't. And it did very well with Idalia. So, where did it go? God darn it, I never can find the stupid thing. Where the hell is it? Oh man! Oh, there it is, right in front of me. God, my eyes are getting bad. Well, no, we got no data now. Oh, see, it's been having issues. Darn it. Got nothing. 6Z, nothing. So it gave up. The last run had it hitting basically right off Cape Cod, 951 in the main. So pretty darn accurate this KMA model was. So all right, let's shift focus and look at Invest 97. Everybody's buzzing about that, which is okay. 80% now. This is probably going to be Nigel. Lorena, thank you. Mikey, what's up, buddy? The sellout comes to me for winter. That's awesome. We're here all year, right? Talking weather. We love weather. I love talking weather. I might be on Aaron again talking about it. You know, I get here. So let me go on a little quick rant, and then we'll talk about this Invest 97. So obviously the big debate is don't listen to people like me because I'm not a real meteorologist, and that's awesome. Some of the real meteorologists, never been naming names, pretty much type the NHC forecast word for word. It's like, okay, so my first pet peeve is don't listen to him, listen to me. And then I listen to him or her, and they're just retyping NHC's talking points. I'm like, well, okay. Yeah, I get it. Let's not have an opinion. And then, I don't know. I think that's all I was going to say. Oh, so doing the CNN thing in News Nation, right? It's a little scary for me, I'll admit, because I could be that talking point. Go back and watch CNN from the 8th. It was 5 days ago. I wish I could replay it, but I'd probably get hit for copyright. I don't know how the laws work. But, you know, what do I say? Like, you know, so I'm like, do I say what I say on my shows and say, you know, here's kind of what's happening. It looks like, you know, this is trending this way. This might be something for New England to look for. And of course, then you take a lot of heat because it goes against the official word at that moment in time. But a lot of times we see things on the Daily Brew because I think out loud with you guys and I learn so much. It's the whole reason I do this Daily Brew is we look at everything, you know, and we're like, oh, that's different. So I'm like, oh crap, what do I, you know, so, you know, I've said, you know, probably Northeast might have big impacts and, you know, people aren't taking it serious. And I'm like, so yeah, like last night I went back and listened. I'm like, kind of, at least it's kind of coming out now, you know, from some big dogs, you know, so it's scary. I'm like, man, I hope I don't say something that's going to be like really bad, like that doesn't materialize. So you got, you know, and so the reason I sit and spend hours and hours and hours digesting models is because it's like I'm learning every storm and just not looking at a graphic and then disappearing for 4 hours because your brain has to become part of that system. And that's the way I've always been. You know, like people know I tracked Harvey. We tracked storms together. We see things before everybody else, and I'll start reporting on them because you'll see a trend, and it's like, hey, this, you know, look at it. This is starting to look like we could have some serious flooding, or this is, you know, and it's not in the forecast yet. Or like during Michael, tropical storm was predicted to hit the Panhandle originally. I'm sharing models that are showing much worse, you know, and unfortunately it turned out that the models were right. But it's hard to go against the grain when that's the easy way out. Is to just use somebody else's words. So, you know, it's very, you know, you got to put a lot of time and energy in these trends and understand models to trust and understand what's really going on and look at history and read other people's, and you get a vibe and you get a pulse. You get like, you know, you just kind of understand. And at least this storm so far is, you know, kind of doing what it looked like it was going to do. So we'll see. The concerning things for me is this low pressure. We're going to know Sunday how bad that low pressure really meant when it comes down to it. Because if I hear it's going to downgrade into a subtropical system, you know, it's only going to be a tropical storm. I'm like, well, I don't know. But all right, enough ranting. All right, so this, oh God, Bleep all that out. That must be the Red Bull kicking in. Anyways. Okay, so this is called Invest 97. I thought it was Invest 98, but it's not. It's Invest 97. So anyway, Invest 98 is not even out there. 80% chance. Notice the direction already. If you look at the tropics map right here, normally you get a really big blocking high system in, oh man, I got to do this quick. I got mama waiting. So usually you get a big high pressure system blocking this time of year because there's nothing else really going on in the tropics. So the first thing you look at is two systems out here that are really breaking up that high. So there's a lot of gaps, there's a lot of low pressure, there's a lot of openings. You know, these things typically steer around a high pressure system. So early trending is that it's not going to impact the continental U.S. I mean, I've seen some random GFS runs, but until I start to see anything, I'm not going to. I put it out there. I already posted this today. This is the latest 10-day euro. So every 51 members of the euro are showing it to recurve. Curve. I know y'all hate that word. I do too. I don't even know. When I say recurve, I became the copycat. I said recurve, and every time I typed it, I'm like, what does this mean? So now I got to say curve. But anyway, so far, Invest 97 appears that it's going to curve away, maybe close to Bermuda, but it could change. I'll be the first to tell you it could change. But there's no point to really bring stress to anybody until we see a reason to bring stress to anybody, right? You might see that one random GFS run, which we all know the GFS is not the greatest model on the planet this year or last. Latest GFS, this is what we're watching right here. This is 97. Latest GFS curve. Overnight GFS curve. Now Bermuda's close, I will admit. They always are. 18Z curve. 12Z curve. 6Z curve. 00Z. That's the one we're gonna share. That we're gonna share that one run. That's what happens. And I was probably that guy 10 years ago, believe it or not. But we got to go with facts. That there's very low confidence this is going to do anything right now. Latest euro curving. Now there's a high pressure building. I mean, it's just so. This is 10 days from now. We're almost into the end of September. So, I'm not watching it. I'm not, I never say never in the tropics. It's just really right now, other than Bermuda, it's just, now this high pressure blocks, it could go back there. Those European ensembles that I showed, though, are 15 days. This is 10 days. So even one of those ensembles is not saying a turn back west. So this looks like, it might go this way. We're not seeing that. So there's that. Makes sense, right? I hope. One last thing I noticed earlier, somebody shared it, and it's from my page. I just don't pay attention when there's a storm out there. This is Global Tropics Hazards map. Not a bad map, but looks like they got a Central American gyre. They're thinking the end of the month. I have been reading reports of lowering shear values possibly across the Atlantic. This is September 27th to the 3rd. That's 3 weeks from now. But if you're into long range tracking, the conditions appear favorable for something possibly to pop up on either side. So models haven't picked up on it yet. 3 weeks out is more than 10 days. So this is extremely experimental, as it says. Whew, man, I burned up on. No wonder I get tired. So anyway. Big update coming at 11. Pay close attention to the 11 o'clock advisory. We might have some watches put up. We might have discussion. Always read the NHC discussion. You'll get a tone of what's happening. You'll read about any shifts. They talked about at 5 o'clock they had a shift west. I think the tone of the NHC 11 is going to be, because of the size and forward speed of the system, and the waters above Franklin are not particularly that cool. We could see a more stronger system on approach. I think they're going to start teasing that language, meaning East Coast, pay attention. East Coast meaning, obviously, not Carolinas, but as you go forward north. You got to be careful. East Coast Daytona is different than Cape Cod. October 7th. Bonnie, that's my wife's birthday. Yes, thanks to Shelly. She's awesome. She's been very consistent over the years. We have a lot of... Mikey, I'm not hyping. You know that. I like to say, I want a shirt. Mike the Hype. No, I'm seriously going to get a shirt, just a dude with a website. That's the new thing. I'm just a dude with a website, because I am a dude. Steven, thanks for the info. Sheila, I know I used to call Shelly Sheila. I can't go to 11. I'm going to leave the house at 11, but I have to do some updates and do something on the app. So, anyway, a lot of stuff coming. And I love Dr. Levi. Yep, Dr. Levi lets us use his stuff. We drive a lot of traffic that way, and he so graciously has to deal with bandwidth issues, I'm sure, when there's a storm, but his sites never let us down. So, all right. Well, appreciate it all. We might do live again tonight. We're probably slowing down on the lives. For sure tonight, if Shelly's cool with 6, we'll do 6 again. And then if I fly away, we might not... Friday is going to be in question because the storm's going to be hitting Friday night, Saturday morning. So by then, what I've learned, within 24 hours, there's really no point of listening to me anymore, honestly. That's the way it goes. I mean, I know people want me to, ride it out with them, and I get it, and I get the, angry people that they wish I'd stay home and cover it. But listen, when a storm is 6 hours away, 12 hours away, 24 hours away, that's when you need to count on your local meteorologist, National Weather Service. I'm just going to show you radar and stuff. We kind of know where it's going at that point a day before. And I still update on the road. Just the lies, right? What's up, Greg Montgomery? I hope you got a lot of generators in the Northeast, Greg. Okay, tomorrow night we won't worry about it. We'll do 6 tonight. And we'll worry about tomorrow night later. So 6 tonight, Shelly says. That's cool. I like to work on her schedule too. So, anyway, abandon us. Mike, I'm not abandoning you. There's nothing like being in my little office on the road, updating. All right, so 11 o'clock, let's all tune in and see what exactly the NHC shows. And we might start seeing some watches and warnings, at least not at 11, more than likely, definitely at 5 p.m. We're going to start seeing some watches and warnings. So, all right, have a great one. See you later, 6 p.m.